Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Looking sexy while I do it. All right, let's talk a little bit about the mind-muscle connection. This is a concept that gets thrown out a lot, and I've always kind of disliked it because it sounds so goofy and new agey. And I guess it kind of makes sense because guys like Frank Zane talked about it a lot. But I think the best way to think about it really is when you've looked at it in studies is internal cueing versus external cueing. So what does that mean? Internal cueing means you're focusing on feeling the muscle as you move. External means you're focused on moving the weight as hard as possible. And there's studies on EMG activity with this stuff, but I'm not going to go into all that. The thing is, people misuse and misunderstand it though, meaning a lot of times guys are saying, hey, I am using the mind-muscle connection, and it'll be weak, small guys, and let's just be honest, who they're just not training that hard. Okay, and they're doing goofball exercises with it, and they think that that's going to work. They're like, well, if I just do this one-arm lat pull down or this concentration curl, and I feel the muscle, it's going to work. Well, why wouldn't you be feeling the muscle? Do you not feel the muscle on your warm-up sets? That's a sign to me that someone maybe doesn't know what they're doing. Even your big exercises. I can tell you already that your form and your setup needs work if when you're warming up with the empty bar on a bench press, you don't feel your pecs. Okay, to me, that's a sign that you don't know how to bench press. You have no clue how to perform a bench press. You have no idea. Guys like, of course I do. No, you don't. You think you know how to bench. Same thing with a squat. You're telling me you don't feel your quads as you're warming up on the squat? Now, granted, my warm-up with the squat is usually 225 for a double. And then I start adding plates. But I feel my quads on that. Of course you feel it. Why wouldn't you? You feel it on your warm-up sets. But that's not a mind-muscle connection, is it? Mind-muscle connection is, are you really working the muscle hard? Which should be one of two things. What is it that we consider to be working hard? You're creating enough mechanical tension to stimulate muscle growth. That has its own feeling. High amounts of mechanical tension have a feeling. Okay? Particularly when you're using correct form. Or you're going to feel a burn. And that burn is from accumulating metabolic fatigue. Okay? Accumulating metabolic fatigue. You are fatiguing the muscle through repetitions, significant repetitions. Okay. What does that feel like? It should feel like you're tearing the muscle apart. In other words, if you are bench pressing pretty hard, like for me, let's say a top set with 315, on every rep, as I'm coming down, I feel like my pectorals. If you're within 5 reps of failure on any of these sets, you should be feeling this stuff. If you have control of the weight. If you're using the primary movers. Okay? So on every rep of that bench, when I come down, I feel my chest pulling. And it's almost painful. I'm not saying it is painful, but it's almost painful. If I'm pulling the bar apart correctly, I'm locked in, and that bar comes down. Actually, it's way out of here for me. I feel all the way across my chest and all the way to the armpit. I feel a pull that almost hurts. Every single rep. When I'm doing 315, I feel it from rep 1. Every rep. Okay? And on the way back up, you feel that muscle. Again, the same thing. You feel that heavy tension pulling on the muscle. And it probably is causing micro tears and micro traumas. So it probably literally is causing some tearing of the muscle. Same thing on the squat. When I put 405 on the bar on the squat, I feel every single rep on that eccentric if you feel the quads pulling, you feel it pulling. If that's what you feel. You feel almost feels like the muscle is tearing apart. That would be a mind-muscle connection. All right, the same thing when we are doing higher rep work. And I'm not talking about just pumping till fatigue. If you were doing so let's say you watched the curls I did this last workout, because I went lighter, went really strict, focused on squeezing. I failed between rep 12 and 14 on every set. Those last few repetitions before you hit failure have a different feeling. You feel the metabolites accumulating. It should burn, right? You don't feel the muscle just moving or squeezing. You should feel discomfort. I don't want to say pain on any of this stuff, but there should be a distinct discomfort. So that muscle should be burning. And if you are within, again, if you're doing a strict exercise and you're doing higher reps, anything over about 8, usually those last 3 to 5 reps before you reach failure, okay, it kind of falls in line with that effective rep theory, you should feel that burn in the muscle. All right? So here's the thing. If we're not doing these things and we're not that close to failure, you're probably not stimulating any adaptation no matter what you feel. And if you're not seeing progressive overload present, the same thing, guys who are like, well, I'm doing this and it's like, okay, but you're making progress on it, right? And that's usually the sign of guys who are wasting their time and they're not willing to put in any effort when they're focused only on the feel, but they're not putting in any real effort. Those sets aren't close to failure. Okay? They don't have any control of the weight on anything. And you can have controlled cheating, by the way. There's absolutely controlled cheating. Novice lifters have no business doing it, but it's a thing and it does work. I've liked to do it on rows and stuff in the past very effectively. But there's something wrong with what you're doing, okay? And the thing is, I have seen this firsthand. I've watched guys who do this and they focus on these things, like some clients who I only had a short time because they were only going to hire me a short time and I needed to get them caught up. You get them on camera, and I had one who was doing exactly this. He was focused on these things, but his effort was minimal, and he was doing, say one-arm dumbbell rows, right? He was saying, oh, I can't get this many reps. I signed him a weight, told him to do it all 3 sets to 3 reps in reserve. He would get like 12, 8, and then 7. And I'm like, you're not actually anywhere near failure. Okay? I got on camera with him, and we discussed it. I'm like, no. I'm going to tell you up and down, and I want you to actually drop that muscle all the way down into a stretch and actually stretch those lats and then pull it up aggressively. Made him train hard, and I told him to rep again and again and again. He got to 18 reps on the first set. Now, this is a guy who had been doing like 12, 8, and 7. Okay, now here's the kicker. I made him add weight because we went to do him like that weight's too light. I had him add 5 more kilograms to the dumbbell, and his 12 rep max that he couldn't even replicate for 12 certainly turned into 18 with a heavier dumbbell for a longer range of motion. Okay, when I'm sitting here telling him again, another rep. And I think even on the final set, he ended up getting like 12 and then failing. So the thing that the guys who are chasing this mind-muscle connection need to realize, you're probably not training that hard. Because if you're training hard and you were using correct form and you were pushing sets hard, the mind-muscle connection is going to happen automatically. You're going to feel that intense pull, that intense contraction, or that intense burn. You are going to feel it on every single set. Okay? Every time. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.